has reaffirmed its deliveries of the s-400 anti-aircraft missile systems to India will start at the end of 2021. Moscow has long been the main supplier of military equipment to New Delhi. However, in recent years, India has lent slightly towards the US and Israel for its arms supply. And despite US threats that India could face sanctions if it goes ahead with the s-400 deal, it would now be difficult for Americans to impose measures on the country, which is going to impact the US-India defense relationship. RT's Yulia Shapovalova has the story.
Russia has begun production of its s-400 anti-aircraft missile systems for India, and the first deliveries of the complexes will take place before the end of 2021.
Russia will deliver the s-400 to India within the terms stipulated by the contract. In general, all obligations undertaken by the parties, including payment, are fully implemented. I'll add that work is underway to open a training centre in India.
Indian specialists will be trained to work with the air defense system before the transfer of the first batch of the weapons to the country. In early October 2018, Russia and India signed a contract for the supply of the latest s-400. As the Kremlin reported back then, Moscow would hand over 5 regiments of the complexes to New Delhi at a cost of nearly $5.5 billion. The deal was called the largest in the history of the Rosoboronexport Agency, responsible for military and technical cooperation between Russia and other countries. In June last year, Russian authorities said that all the payment issues had been resolved and deliveries would begin after 2020. According to reports, India has paid an $859 million deposit to Moscow. The official completion of the deliveries is scheduled for the first half of 2025, but some sources say Russia was asked to expedite the transfer of the systems. Russia has already supplied its s-400 complexes to Turkey and China, although Washington has imposed sanctions against the countries. The American authorities promised to take measures against India too if it purchases the complexes, but New Delhi says these measures will not interfere with the process. In addition, Iraq is also interested in buying the s-400s. According to the Wall Street Journal, Baghdad is discussing this issue with Moscow, but no contract has yet been signed. The next generation s-400 Triumph anti-aircraft missile system is designed to destroy aerial targets, ballistic cruise missiles, including long-range and medium-range missiles, from up to 400 kilometers away at an altitude of 30 kilometers. It can also be used against ground targets. According to the Russian Federal Service for Military and Technical Cooperation, since 1991, India has ordered various Russian weapons worth about $70 billion, and it's not going to stop there. Yulia Shapovalova, RT.
What life is like on the inside of an outbreak. What's being done to stop it? ABC's Ian Panel has been in the region and has this in-depth report.
Wuhan, China, a sprawling city of 11 million, bigger than New York or London. Testimony to China's rise as an economic superpower. Wuhan's a major transport hub known as China's thoroughfare, and the city where the potentially deadly coronavirus outbreak began. December last year. It was in this fish market where the first cases was reported.
It was reported December 16, 2019, which is also on, if you watch the Friends of David Goldberg's channel, it's one of the days on the notes. It was December 12, 2019, to December 16, 2019.
Officials are still uncertain where the virus came from, but today the site and the city are under strict quarantine. One single location setting off an international alarm.
We begin tonight with the growing concern as the toll from that deadly coronavirus now grows, spreading from Wuhan, China, and tonight that first case here in the U.S.
As the highly contagious virus known as 2019 nCoV spread, Chinese officials who'd been slow to respond finally began taking extraordinary measures that only an authoritarian regime can do, quarantining tens of millions of its own citizens. In the early days, Bob Woodruff flew to Wuhan, nearly everyone on the flight wearing face masks.
So since I got off the plane here in Wuhan, we've had no screening. They haven't been looking for testing any temperatures, anything.
Flights were still leaving the city then, but that soon stopped as the unprecedented lockdown began, beginning with flights. The airport empty, train stations a ghost town. The streets of this once bustling city of Wuhan almost totally deserted. Some taking matters into their own hands, literally walling themselves off from the outside world. And temperature checkpoints now a common sight across Asia. More than 50 million people barred from leaving Hubei province alone. But the virus still spread. Now every province and territory in the world's most populous country has cases. In less than 2 months, more than 24 countries affected, from Australia to Cambodia to France and the United States.
The first confirmed U.S. case of that mysterious virus tracked here to Washington State.
Countries are desperately trying to keep the virus at bay. Airports across the U.S. screening passengers for potential symptoms. At least 54 airlines have now suspended or reduced service to China. And now the government advising against any travel to the mainland. But still, it's spreading. The situation's so urgent, China's built 2 new hospitals in a matter of days. This extraordinary time-lapse aired on state media, showing over 2,300 more beds being added this week. But that still isn't enough to deal with patient demand. And now this stadium in Wuhan is being turned into a makeshift hospital. Elsewhere, in overcrowded clinics, medical professionals in hazmat suits treat patients lining the hallways. No precaution, no protection, too extreme. The lives of people here have been suspended. Crucial medical supplies and food sent directly to some homes as Chinese authorities enforce the lockdown. Despite the millions stranded, the people of Wuhan are encouraging each other from their windows, shouting to keep fighting on. And the only ones lucky enough to be able to escape from here now are foreign nationals, those with the right passport to get out. More than 500 Americans have already paid thousands of dollars to evacuate from the infected region, with more flights expected this week. U.S. medical personnel at the ready with hazmat suits. All who take the flight now have to be quarantined for at least 2 weeks. But some choosing not to take the ticket out. Doug Perez, an American in Wuhan, refused to leave his girlfriend and his dog behind.
Just things are looking really bad, and they still look bad. We go over there, and we say we're going to take the dog for a walk. They say no. They say you can't leave. And that's kind of dawned on me, like, how bad this could get.
Normally my community is usually very, very full of people all over the place running around.
Justin Steese, a US citizen, and his family are stuck in Wuhan. He had the option to take his newborn back to America, but his wife Ling is Chinese, and just days ago she was told she wouldn't be able to join them and would have to stay behind.
Ling and I were very much upset about the result. It's the first time I've seen her cry about this the entire time. There's no way I would ever separate a mother and her 1-month-old baby.
But now the US is allowing Steese and his wife to get back to America. But for now, the Chinese are holding up the process. Back in Hong Kong, a city that faced the full force of the deadly SARS outbreak in 2003, residents like Henry are taking few chances.
Now Hong Kong people has the alertness about the virus. 18 years ago, we don't have so many mainlanders coming to Hong Kong. But after 18 years, we have many tourists, and the relationship between Hong Kong and China is much more closer than 18 years ago.
But infections for this new type of coronavirus have surpassed SARS, and it's spreading faster too. Hong Kong trying to protect itself. Ferry boats and trains suspended, flights to the mainland halved, and a run on protective gear. Hundreds of people are now lined all the way around the block because this store here has just got a supply of face masks. You can see them here, but they're being tightly rationed. If you have a look up here on the wall, it's basically telling people we've tried our best, we don't have any more masks, and that's the situation across Hong Kong. Medical workers in Hong Kong are now on strike, demanding that all borders with mainland China be closed. The global financial centre just recorded its first death from the virus. And as it continues to spread, the World Health Organization declaring a global emergency.
In the last 24 hours, we had the most cases in a single day since the outbreak started.
While the coronavirus remains less deadly than the seasonal flu, scientists say it's just as contagious. So for now, this is what passes for life in Wuhan. The largest quarantine effort in...
Sorry about all the interruptions, guys. I wanted to show y'all this. We know the deaths are a lot higher. It has been confirmed. The infected are a lot higher. The infected over here is a lot higher. The infected everywhere is a lot higher. So I put these two pieces together. I was trying to show you how some things are distractions, some things are trying to kill us, and how they are preparing for their next steps, and why everyone is loading up with such... with so much military use of huge weapons. So think about that. God bless you, and I'll see y'all later.